This episode of Watch Out for Fireballs is brought to you by our patrons. If you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you too can join us. $5 a month gives you bonus episodes of Abject Suffering, Unfilmable, our Lovecraft adaptation show, Bonfireside Chat, full premium episodes of this show. You get a lot for $1.25 a week. So please consider doing so if you have not already, and thank you. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Gunstar Heroes, which is a run-and-gun game developed by Treasure and published by Sega for the Genesis in 1993.
I would say it is a treasure.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Good game. This was executive produced by Geri Khan.
Hi, Geri Khan.
Hey, frequent commenter, also so he suggested Abject Suffering games, things like that. Good member of the community.
Yeah, and thank you for finally getting us off of our asses to play this game. It's been hovering around in the periphery for a while.
It's been hovering around in the periphery. It's also the same year we did River City Ransom.
Ooh, yeah.
So the signs are nigh.
Just that we finally have opportunities to play these games that we wanted to play for a long time.
Best case scenario.
Okay.
Worst case scenario? Your imagination.
Yeah, no.
This is so in this game you play as one of two Gunstars. That is a word made up for this game.
Yeah.
So they are men, small men.
Yes.
Trying to collect the 4 powerful stones before an evil emperor collects these stones.
Yes, this evil emperor who has other Gunstars of different colors.
Yes.
An incredibly manga-style storyline. A little bit of a Sentai kind of deal. Everybody named after a different color. Incredibly cute game. Yeah.
Really, really expressive sprites. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about the production of this game. Like, this is, for us, is a very short game.
Yes.
You play this in an hour and a half or so, depending on how many times you start over, because it is difficult.
Yeah.
But very short. We're going to be mostly talking about production and kind of tricks, which we'll get into, because the basic gameplay of this is, it's like simple plus.
Yes.
It's a run and gun. So think Contra, or more recently a Cuphead.
Yes.
With a lot of bonus stuff. So more elaborate weapons, melee moves, a wall jump, a slide, a tackle, like a lot of, this reminds me, so this to Contra is Shadows of Mystara to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's a good comparison.
Like it's just, there's a little bit more going on. To me makes this is probably, I didn't, really put it together until I played this. Since it's not a genre that I absolutely love, this is probably my favorite run and gun game.
Probably, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I like Contra.
Contra stands up.
Yeah, Contra's great. I think this is probably cooler and better.
Yeah, especially from this era, right? Like, as the run and gun kind of evolved, like, I never really got that crazy about like Super C or hardcore stuff like that.
No, Contra 3. I'm sure that there are fans out there. I remember Contra 4 being really fun.
Yeah, Contra 4 was made by that one developer who's Cottage. What's that? Yeah, John.
Hello.
Hi, my name's John. I hope you like my game.
Yeah.
No, just a way forward. A team who kind of like had a little cottage industry for a while, and going back to old stuff.
Properties.
Yeah, old properties and bringing them back.
So let's start listing innovations.
Let's do it. Yeah. The first one is pretty strange because for a run and gun game, the way you control varies depending on the character that you choose.
Mm-hmm. So you start off with the most important decision you're going to make, like in the game, individual decision, choosing between red and blue, the two characters. Red has free firing, which means you can run and shoot at the same time, but he is limited to shooting left and right. Blue cannot shoot while running, but can aim freely.
Yes.
This is called fixed firing. So you can shoot in 8 directions. And it just explains this stuff. There's nothing hidden about this. It just tells you exactly what it is, which I appreciate.
Yes. When you say you can only shoot left and right, what you mean is like you can only shoot while you're moving left and right.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. You cannot, like, if something is directly below you, you cannot, aim down and shoot it. But you can kind of cast your gun up and down as you are running left and right to shoot stuff up there. It's really weird because, like, it doesn't live in words very well, but it lives in your hands. Like, you kind of immediately get it. Like, free firing will be probably what you recognize from Contra, right? Whereas fixed firing is a little bit more
it's like dual stick almost.
Yeah,
you have to actually tap the fire button, but you can. It's like a later Contra, basically.
Yeah.
I'm a fixed fire boy.
I'm a free firing boy. I cannot understand how somebody would play not always being on the move.
You are on the move a lot.
Yeah.
Even fixed, you just stop to let your fireball out, and then you move it around on enemies while you stand still.
Gotcha.
And the fireball kills them. Homing fireball, OP. In this game.
Anything homing OP in this game.
Yeah, and you can. So it just we'll get into it. To me, being able to shoot in all directions is super necessary. In this because of the and this I consider this to be kind of a downside. I wish it would chill out with this. The frankly irresponsible number of enemies pouring into the screen at every given second.
They've got to show it off though.
No, they do got to show it off. It just makes the game like, there's no, there's not like a sense of pacing to this.
No,
almost like it's just you're always be shooting like it. It's weird. This is a run and gun that plays like a shoot 'em up in that like in a shoot 'em up, you concentrate on just not getting hit. Same thing here. You want to be shooting in every direction at all times because by the time the bullet gets there, an enemy will be there, even if there isn't one now.
Just because the density.
It's just so dense, and the so to me, I needed to fill more of the screen with bullets,
right?
As opposed to dodge, and it did probably take me a little bit longer to kill some of the enemies because I couldn't dodge at the same time.
Yeah, I like this though. I can't imagine playing with somebody whose control sensibilities were exactly like mine. Like, no, I need to be red. Like, I can't play as blue. I'll be useless. Then fighting with them over that. But it's neat that they give you both options and that both of them kind of seem to play to a natural kind of proclivity.
Yeah. You also get to choose your starting weapon.
Right.
There are 4 starting weapons. Force, which is the same thing basically as the machine gun in Contra. Rapid fire.
Yep. Rapid fire, but the shots stop.
Yes.
Lightning, bigger projectiles. You still can shoot pretty quick, but the shots will pass through enemies.
Yeah, piercing shot.
Yes.
Chaser, which are your homing shot, but it's the weakest of the 4.
Right.
And then fire, which is the strongest of the 4, but is close range. Like the closest analog to this is the laser weapon in Contra.
Right.
For Contra Americans.
Right. I could not imagine taking fire. That is just whenever I accidentally pick that up, it was a problem. I understand that there are ways that you can make it overpowered. That range is necessary.
Fire is so good.
Is it?
Fire is so good. Yeah. Because
it's good as a mixer.
You get it with homing, you get to, you have to have a mixer. Once you have homing, bosses just melt, which is basically how I managed to beat the game because it's hard.
Yes.
Were it an easier game, I would have more diversity of weapons. But fire homing was basically my jam.
Yeah, I took lightning just because weirdly it required me to be less accurate. I know that the chaser would need lightning mixed with chaser was what I usually ended up going with. Yeah.
Well, the lightning is interesting too because it's kind of the closest analog to a spread shot. If you kind of waggle the controller a little bit.
Right.
at least with the omnidirectional aiming, you can kind of basically turn it into a spread shot.
Yeah,
you like
works the same way. Works the same way with free shot as long as you're moving.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the four, and then the thing that makes us neat is you can during the game there'll be pickups. Little bugs come, very Mega Man-esque, like little bugs give you a new weapon pickup. You pick that up, and you can carry two weapons at once and swap behind them and combine them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like probably the major, back of the box single innovation to Gunstar Heroes.
Yeah. It is really good. I can't off the top of my head think of something else that does exactly this. Weirdly, it's almost like a Kirby kind of thing.
Yeah.
You end up doing like a little bit of stuff. Like dumbly, they get rid of the system for the sequel.
Yes, which is not super good.
Yeah,
crazy to me. It's also one of the things too when we talk about that pace of play, and this is my own proclivities, but where it kind of is a weakness because it seems like this kind of system is made for experimentation. There is a constantly kind of on the edge of your seat,
on the edge of your teeth,
hanging out by the edge of your teeth, hanging on by the edge of your teeth, like Grandpa biting or Bart biting the ceiling fan with Grandpa's teeth. And because of that, I did not want to stop and experiment.
Okay.
It's like I found the thing that worked for me and used it. This is like, I think that a little bit more downtime, and there are people who are like, that's crazy. Like this game is just supposed to be an hour of pure adrenaline or whatever. A little bit of downtime to try the weapons, or like even just like an arena to try the different combinations.
Right.
Would be cool.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that it is a kind of an instance where they are two good choices that they have made. I think that the pace of play, like the hectic, that is absolutely a thing that has made this game memorable. And the depth of this combination system also makes this game memorable. It just sucks when two good decisions get in each other's way.
Yeah, and just a little bit. Like it's not a problem.
You're right.
Like, this is, like I said, this is my favorite running gun game. Like it's really neat. I just kept finding myself like, there are combinations of weapons I don't have internalized what they do. I don't have a sense, and I would if this were like had, some portions that were a little bit slower paced.
Yes.
This actually extends to the other moves you can do, that like slide kicks and grabs and throws and stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff I was doing, I eventually got to tactically doing the slide. And as somebody who's using fixed, like that is my primary dodging method. Like on a lot of things, but the tackle that you can do, the kind of like shoulder tackle thing, I didn't really realize until until like far too late.
Yeah. I read the manual before I went into this, and I saw, okay, I've got these moves internalized a little bit, but it felt like I was always deploying them accidentally.
I was just about to say, like I did most of these things accidentally.
Yeah, like
especially grabs and throws. Like I never did that on purpose.
Yeah, if I threw somebody, like I never saw like the actual use case for that outside of the Dice Palace. It weirdly locked me into that animation and made me vulnerable.
Yes,
was the problem. Bad on me for letting them get as close as they did, but yeah.
It's cool that they exist. There's a cool boss that limits you to these. Like we'll talk about bosses at length when we get there, but it is a cool feature that they exist, even though I do want a little bit more time to use them.
Yeah. So. Kind of continuing the theme of letting you play as you will, both with the different kinds of weapons and both with the different firing modes. The first part of the game is pretty non-linear, actually. You can take on the first 4 levels in any order that you want to. And in between all of them, you are awarded with maximum health increase. So if one of them gives you trouble, you can save it for last and then go to it with a little bit more of an edge.
Well, and they are in no way uniformly difficult.
Right.
And they also do not follow like a strict progression.
No.
From left to right. Like the density of bosses to level is going to be very different.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different technical kind of aspects of this that are very impressive. One, number of enemies that are on the screen at the time, and then the level size, the kind of animation of the bosses doing that Vector Man Balls 3D thing that the Genesis loves so much.
Yep.
There's a lot of Vector Man DNA in a bunch of these bosses.
Yeah.
Vector Man just made spray like fucking, like a truck stop restroom. Like it's just fucking Vector Man got all up in this shit.
Yeah. No. So I feel like that is the Genesis's version of Mode 7. Like, yeah, we
Yes.
can't really do an awful lot of scaling kind of stuff, but we can do we can do rotations.
Yes.
And we're going to do them. Yeah, so you're fighting big, beautiful bosses in this, triple Bs as I call them. And like that combined with the number of enemies on the screen and the fluidity of control really makes this feel like an arcade experience in a way that like the Sega was really advertised as being.
Yes.
And not always fulfilled. Here though, it does feel like that promise is fulfilled.
There's an element too about the number of enemies on the screen that plays into that hecticness that works, but does make it feel very arcadey because it's super easy to get overwhelmed. And part of it is how zoomed in you are.
Yeah.
Like the sprites are big and look really good as a result of that. But as opposed to having a good lead up on the time when an enemy, shows up, they will come from literally every direction, including the backdrop from time to time or from things like that, right on top of you.
Right.
Like at any given moment, like you do not, it is kind of a zoomed in game for a run and gun. And it's interesting to see how this genre gets tuned.
Yeah.
Contra has an approach that you are relatively small in comparison to everything. And then you look at something like Cuphead, which is kind of between this and that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more zoomed out than this. This is probably the most zoomed in of this genre that I played. Not necessarily to its benefit. Like I think that if it's interesting, what it does is it makes the tuning on the enemy health really stand out. Because if the enemies took one more hit to kill, it is kind of, they're perfectly fragile. If they took one more hit to kill, this would be pretty obnoxious because, you would have to just kind of hold fire on guys for too long.
And they would accumulate so much more quickly.
They would accumulate really quickly.
Any mistake would compound. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as is, it still has that issue. Like there are sections of these levels that I just run through.
Right.
It is because it is just too easy to accumulate just a huge crowd of enemies and there's no real benefit.
Right. They don't drop other weapons or health pickups.
Yes.
Right.
So there's not really a reason to fight them like a lot of them.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting. And that lends itself kind of to that second point of those big, beautiful bosses, those BBBs, and the fact that this game is known for its bosses. It's mostly a boss rush, has several explicit boss rushes within it. And then the run and gun sections, which, also like Metal Slug, remind me of Metal Slug a lot. That's the other big run and gun I forgot about. Remind me a lot of the Metal Slug.
Yeah.
But mostly it's bosses.
Yeah.
So.
And that structure, we mentioned Cuphead a couple of times, that is a modern kind of incarnation of this. They were explicitly, informed by this game. It's a hard game, Gary.
Yes.
Incredibly difficult. I had to rely on save states quite a bit. I tried to keep it just where checkpoints ought to be, but sometimes, especially in the minecart level, it's like, I'm going to do an inter boss save if I can, stuff like that.
It's fascinating to play this, simultaneously with Bonfireside Chat.
Yes,
because big multi-phase bosses with no checkpoints in between are like pretty common.
Yeah,
here, like that's a thing, and it's like yes, I could learn it, but I also I like the checkpoint.
Yeah,
I like the checkpoint.
Me too.
Give Italian Gary the checkpoint.
The Italian Gary does not ask for much.
Give Italian Gary
what he ask for.
What he ask for. And I like the checkpoint. So I also gave myself the checkpoints with some frequency and more frequency as the game went on.
Yeah.
The ending of this game, there's a boss at the end I think is really bad, really hard, and also just takes forever. Right? Like another kind of, to me, like DNA thing between this game and when I think about modern Souls games is like really interrogating how long I want to spend on a boss fight.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like you can either the boss can be an amount of time that feels like it sounds like nothing. Like if you say like 5 minutes, it sounds like nothing.
Yeah.
But really in an action game like this, 5 minutes is like a very long time.
Yeah, like if I was literally fighting somebody punches and kicks for 5 minutes, it would be it would feel like a long time.
Yeah.
Time dilates when your hands on the stove.
That They Live scene. The big fight from that's famously long. It's like 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
It seems like it's half the movie. It's like 5 minutes long.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. Like it's absolutely comical and dumb.
Yeah.
They do that. It's funny. but it's absolutely ridiculous. And to me, like that kind of heightened switching between phases, fighting these bosses over and over, like I ran into a little bit of stuff that I, in a weird way ahead of its time, right? Like that it would not become something that would bother me until Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And here it's obviated by save states. It's not like a big deal, but
right.
I just remember being like, going through a boss, being like, oh, like I thought I had that and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another boss popped out. I thought this would be the end of the stage. It's not. And then just being like, okay, well, I'm gonna save state around this.
Right. So that would be the way I would recommend playing it. Obviously there are people who can take it on its face, but if you are a tourist, kind of like we are, an emulator will benefit you. Like I could not see like playing this on the Genesis Classic Mini or whatever it is that's coming out,
Well, and what's interesting too, again, in comparing it to its brethren, is that like I didn't use a lot of save states in Contra.
Right.
Like I think that slower pace of play and simpler bosses makes that a running gun where I don't really need that.
Yeah.
I still prefer the bells and whistles. I think this is more impressive and cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I like I like not having to die quite as often.
Yeah.
And continue at the beginning of a stage. Like the checkpointing, if you die, you have unlimited continues, but you redo a lot of the game when you die.
Yeah.
It's basically the entire level. And these levels, some of them are very long.
Yeah. And it's worth saying you do have unlimited continues. Like you don't have to accumulate them. It never kicks you back to the beginning of the game. So in 1993, that was not a given. So that speaks to the game's credit that it was not forcing you. It was not hateful in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not AVGN style.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So the game has an interesting development, which is basically the founding of the studio, Treasure. This is a team whose members worked at Konami. They started working on the game, but Konami did not want to use these ideas. Konami explicitly what was very in style at the time were really huge sprites.
Yep.
Like those all unplayable Genesis boxing games.
Yes. You can see a little bit of this in their move to Castlevania 4, like just slightly how zoomed in that was. Yeah.
Yep. So that was what was impressive. They didn't want to do that, so they split off. They met. They were actually like having coffee together regularly and just talking about dream games they wanted to make. Realized that they could not make them with Konami, formed Treasure, and then became one of Sega's developers.
Right. And Sega only let them allocate resources to this. Like it was conditional on them showing that they could work on McDonald's Treasureland Adventure.
Yes.
Which is going to end up on Abject Suffering probably someday.
Yeah.
When we're ready.
I'm in a McDonald's refractory period right now. Like,
right.
I think I blew my McDonald's load pretty hard during those episodes, but someday we'll do that. And it's good. The Treasure McDonald's game is pretty good. So they ended up making this, originally had a couple different names for it. They were originally going to call it Lunatic Gunstar because they were trying to describe the action,
right?
But Sega didn't like the connotations. And then they wanted to call it Blade Gunner as a tribute to Blade Runner.
Yep.
But then they chose not to because it's bad.
Right.
And then they were actually, Heroes was suggested because they wanted to have that more positive outlook. So they just affixed their word. Gunstar was the constant.
Yes.
They're like, this is also a made-up thing, but this one's staying.
Yeah. Both of those alternate titles are very bad, and I'm happy they didn't use them.
Yeah. Like, Lunatic Gunstar doesn't sound like this game to me. That sounds like an attack in, like, Star Ocean.
Yes.
Or like a Grandia, or like an attack, like Maximum Exoteric Attack. Something like that. And then Blade Gunner just sounds like a joke. It sounds like something that you'd make fun of Final Fantasy VIII about.
Yeah.
The team was literally split between this game and that McDonald's one. They started the McDonald's one, then as they made some time on it or made some progress on it, then they were allowed to start working on this.
Yeah.
So the team was split. 6 people working on this, 6 people working on the McDonald's game. The McDonald's game was finished first, but they wanted to release their own game. Yeah. Before the McDonald's game came out.
As their debut. Because they were looking forward and said, our Wikipedia page would look really lame if our first one was McDonald's. So
they knew what was up.
Yeah, they knew we were coming for them. It's ridiculous.
You don't like this because we're Banksy.
It's ridiculous to me. 6 people taking 9 months to make this very polished game like this.
Oh yeah.
At least presentationally, there's some, rough edges on the play that we, have talked about and we'll talk about, but like just man, game teams used to be so small, man.
Yeah. This is really impressive.
Yeah.
Like this is definitely 2019, Gary, just thinking about like the labor practices involved. Like I hope those people got sleep and didn't destroy their home lives.
Yes.
To make this, because it's not just like really polished. This is a system, paragon.
Yes.
For the Genesis, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but like this is pretty close, like best in class action game for Genesis, right?
100%, I would say.
Like, like Sonic 3 is also really, really good and impressive, which we covered, but I don't know that it gets much more impressive than this for the platform.
Yeah, no, you end up looking at something like, Contra Hardcore or something like that for even like a comparison.
Or like Vector Man, right? Like Vector Man's okay. Like that's not a terrible game. Like I know a lot of mean things have been said about
Listen,
my
okay.
Clarence Darrow voice.
Time to be honest here.
Like, at the trial of the coward Vector Man.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of like Vector Man, and I have taken these slings and arrows with a tremendous amount of dignity.
Well, you're the public defender. Vector Man couldn't afford a lawyer, so in the court of Vector Man.
Oh, so you get to be Clarence Darrow, but I have to be the fucking public defender.
You have to be some fucko. Yeah, you have to be some white fuckwit.
I'm Cole.
Who doesn't like who loves evolution. Who doesn't like evolution. Vector Man is a affront to. I think that Vector Man is an attack on our values, but I don't think it's a horrible game.
Okay, all right.
I think Vector Man's pretty fun. Those first like compilations of Sega things, it's on like the 6-in-1 card, I think. The Sega 6-in-1 that came out with the had Sonic 2. And
yeah, I was on one of those.
Is on one of those. So I played Vector Man quite a bit. I like Vector Man.
Yeah.
But this blows Vector Man. This makes Vector Man look like a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, just drying on the sidewalk. Yeah, I can agree. I like this better than Vector Man. Vector Man holds a place in my heart, but that's fine.
Yeah, like a piece of dog shit place in your heart.
Jesus, man, stop talking about shit.
Stop talking about my heart. Stop dragging my heart around, Vector Man. So this Sega didn't want to put this out. They were like, "Oh, we want to put out Vector Man." No, you had to put out Gunstar Heroes. But the last producer ended up taking a look at it. They greenlit it, and they made a change because the M boss of this is M. Bison. But once was Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. Just
straight up Hitler.
Yep. Big Hitler energy.
Big Hitler mustache. He's got that mustache that really indicates a Hitler.
Yeah.
You got a Hitler there, Vector Man. It's one of those things.
Can't have that. Can't have that at all. So it's ridiculous to think that this game that is system defining nearly wasn't published by the the people who made the system. Yeah.
And turned out to be a critical smash.
Yes.
Really well received by critics. Now, anytime, if you throw top 10 Genesis games into Google, you will 100% get Gunstar Heroes on there.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So some ideas from the play would be taken and used for a game called Alien Soldier in 1995. That was only released in America on the Sega channel. And it has a physical release over in Japan. You can find repros of that. I like Alien Soldier quite a bit, actually. If we were still doing split EPs, I would have insisted that we pair this with Alien Soldier.
I've never played it.
Yeah, it's fun.
So, yeah. I did play, however, Gunstar Superheroes when I first got my Game Boy Advance, which is the sequel to this, the only sequel. This was put out in 2005, and this is a huge downgrade.
Yeah,
it's way worse. It looks good. I think the bosses look better in a lot of senses. They don't they're not as stringy and lanky.
Yeah.
They have Vector Man body parts, but they're not shaped like a Vector Man.
Right.
Which I appreciate. But it's talky, which is crazy to me. Even the intro to this game I was trying to watch, and I was like, why? I'm not one of those people who thinks that story in a game is not necessary. Obviously, right? That should be obvious from anyone listening to the show. But for this game, I do not need to know all this.
No.
And Gunstar Superheroes is egregious in that respect. I'm just imagining getting really invested in the Gunstar Heroes mythology.
The Gunstar-verse. Yeah.
A fan fiction where they're ponies. Gunstars and Vegeta.
Yeah. Usually I go to the TV Tropes page for a given game just to refresh myself on things about,
It's all Gunstar superheroes.
It's all Gunstar superheroes talking about the drama between the different people on the team and stuff like that. It's like, no, I just want to read about the bosses. Like I want I want to be reminded of the boss gimmicks and stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Can you believe that Yellow told Blue that Red said this? In this, it's and it's TV Trope, so it's like he did it. ... Yeah, maybe because his best friends were in danger and he thought they were going to die on televised text. It's like, man, you gotta do something.
Yeah,
like get it, go. Have fun. Go eat a meal.
Yeah.
Troper.
No, buy yourself a present.
Go buy yourself a present, Troper.
No.
Yeah, Vector Man. Do something nice for yourself.
What does Vector Man have to do with that?
I assume Vector Man's a TV Troper. Don't you think Vector Man could be up there like updating the...
He's just a bunch of orbs.
He's got real like wild mass guessing energy.
Does he?
To Vector Man. I'm ascribing... Well, from the Vector Man TV Tropes page, I learned a lot about the lore. So.
Do you think Vector Man's thirsty for Rayman?
Ooh. I think he's probably jealous of Rayman. Because it's actually, exactly what the relationship is? Those SAT comparison things?
Yes. Yeah. Analogies.
Yeah. Yeah. Analogies. Vector Man is Gunther Herman. Rayman is JC Denton.
Gotcha. Yeah.
They have that kind of relationship because Vector Man is like a way less advanced version of Rayman. He doesn't have fingers.
True.
And then just like, I am not a machine, and it's like, well, actually you are, buddy. Sorry, Vector Man.
The poop machine. Indeed.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Dead Vector Man. Just dead Vector Man or dead Vector Men at my location.
Yeah. And we said it a few times, but Cuphead is a kind of a spiritual follower to this.
Yeah, a game that I've watched like 2 Let's Plays of, but have not been super interested in playing myself.
My hands can't learn it.
Yeah,
I respect it, but my hands can't learn it.
It's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like Will did a kind of quasi speed run of it at Duckstream last year.
I stayed up to watch it. Yeah,
it was cool to see. It was definitely cool to see. Yeah, respectable. So let's get into it.
Let's do. So the too much story at the beginning of this really just boils down to the Gunstar heroes, Red, Blue, and then their sidekick, I guess, Yellow, their girl, just the girl who's at the base.
The Girl Star hero.
Yeah.
Girl Star hip hop.
And maybe their professor, their professor friend who is back at the base. They swear to stop this enemy who looks like M. Bison, is like Smash Daisuke or something like that. But they're too late and this object falls to Earth.
Yeah. There's some kind of joke with World Star heroes.
They just pummel each other.
Yeah, they just pummel each other. There's that one boss that's World Star heroes.
Yeah,
and Vector Man's just doing cell phone video from the side. Anyway,
there's so many times where I want to shout World Star, but I don't know that it would be. I don't know if that's insensitive.
I have no idea if it's racist.
I have no idea. I was thinking the idea of somebody shouting World Star in a video is really funny to me.
Yeah.
So aside, I opt toward being respectful.
If you have to quit, if you have to ask, don't do it.
Yeah.
But it's very hard for me to tell. So anyways, World Star heroes. We have to go gather the gems.
Yes.
Who gives a shit? Let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah. So, we're going to go through these levels in the order that they are presented. And some of them make a little bit of sense, but obviously they will find your weaknesses. So we're going to start with the ancient ruins where Pink's mining equipment has pulled up one of these gems.
Yes. Yep. And this starts off with a very Metal Slug like start as we're going to these kind of area at the edge of the forest where we start seeing like dwellings.
Mm-hmm.
and stuff here that dudes are troops.
Yeah.
Men.
Just
we fight our guys. And so much personality in the animation for these fellas.
Yeah. They're so hapless a lot of the time. Like, you know, they'll charge in from the edge of the screen, but like when they stop and are aiming for you, like there's plenty of just bumbling built into them.
Yes, big bumble energy. And they do there's a couple of different like really nice little UI things. So they have a sliding attack. I only played one level of this on hard because I wanted to see what it was like. And the enemies slide a lot, which is really hard to counter. And they get a little exclamation point above their head before they do it. And
Careless
it becomes meaningless because of how busy everything is on the screen.
Right.
But it's a nice little touch. You know, and I've watched high level play of this where people can deal with that better than I can.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yeah, plenty of personality there. I like the personality of the machinery. Like there's some really good. Just reminds me of like the machines that the Tron Bon and Teasel Bon use in Mega Man Legends kind of thing. It's like, oh, this ridiculously specific mecha that they're coming at you with. So you've got like just a little helicopter bombers coming around, and they look like Mega Man, propeller bomber kind of dudes. Good stuff. The troops have flamethrowers. Again, just putting so many sprites on the screen with no flicker.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
We should talk about health.
Yes.
How this game handles health. So if this was Contra, if you died in one hit, this would be unacceptable.
Right.
Instead, though, you have a numerical meter of health. And from time to time, certain enemies or certain destructible objects in the environment, you can bust them open to pick up health. The way you pick up things in this game is down and attack. Which I found very tricky during the minecart sections for some reason.
Yeah.
Like could not consistently pick things up, which drove me a little nuts.
Changes the animation.
Changes the animation. It's also how you're going to pick up weapon combo things. So for me, I spent, and this is kind of general, I'm not going to talk about every weapon change they made. Most of the game I spent using homing and flamethrower. Started for a while initially doing, because I started with homing and then added the flamethrower, doing homing and laser for a while.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I did homing and lightning or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's lightning. I keep saying laser.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
But yeah, just shock and awe. Like a lot of guys coming out. Every single, you're always shooting in every direction. They're not finite.
No.
They constantly replenish. You just have to continue to kind of gain ground, pushing to the right, taking out these guys.
Yeah. And when we say every direction, they're also coming from above. There are platforms, like there are these savanna trees that they're running along on top of, things like that. So, let's talk about the first boss, Papaya Dance.
Yeah, a little bit underwhelming for this first boss. Like this is pretty bland. I'm kind of surprised it does not put its best foot forward.
Yeah.
In general, you get a lot of that animation, but this thing is just a weird plant critter.
Yeah, it's like a huge stalk that has a bulb at the top of it. It drops pollen, which you need to avoid, but also weirdly it will spit out caterpillar eggs, spawning these huge grubs. And yeah, this is very animation forward because the stalk kind of deforms left and right, kind of bending to follow you. And the caterpillars are made up of a bunch of like slices of sprite, so it animates walking like a caterpillar does.
Yeah. Very, very easy. If you stand under the branch and just light it on fire, like this dies pretty quick, and then shoot the caterpillar. So good first boss, and that's very easy. I don't know necessarily this shows off or that it's teaching you anything, but yeah.
Immediately right after this, we get to a pyramid that we have to fight our way up, and this ends up being pretty tricky. For me on free movement, because of how much it you have stuff coming at you from a diagonal. I found myself just racing up to the top of it because I could not deal with any of the enemies really. Yeah.
It's and it also the health pickups it's kind of like Cubert, like they're down like a layer for you. So jumping down to those, like you can mantle, you can hang on the bottom of ledges and climb up to them as well. Again, adding to that animation staple, your mobility staple, which is great. But with never ending spawning enemies, this was never worth it. Like my big breakthrough for this level was realizing, just run your way up the pyramid, don't stop.
Yeah.
And just get to the top, and all those fools can just be in your dust. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of tricky, but to me, the pro tip is don't do it.
Yeah.
Run by it. Then you get kind of your first real highlight boss fight. Who is Bravo Man.
I love the names of these guys.
I like the names too. This is the most explicitly Vector Man. Like what if Vector Man was cubes instead of spheres?
Yeah, and also it's 2 years before Vector Man comes out, so this comparison is breaking down rapidly.
Well, I'm calling out the Vector Man people.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no,
the cowards behind Vector Man.
They're snaking Gunstar. Mm-hmm. They're snaking Gunstar ideas. And yeah, this is a little bit like Papaya Dance in that it's not very difficult. It's more, it feels more like an animation showcase. You just need to put as many bullets into this guy as you can because he's very slow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. He will kind of walk to you. It does kind of run into something that I think is probably a weakness of mine. Mm-hmm. Not the games, but if an enemy, gets up next to you, you can kind of double jump over them sometimes, right? Like this guy just kind of walks back and forth. Also, but what I would try to do is slide through them at the bottom, and it was inconsistent when I would take damage.
Oh yeah.
From that, like sometimes the animation would end too soon, the sliding animation. I would stand up and take damage. Yeah. Sometimes I would make it through. So that was tricky.
There are lots of bosses where I figured out that the best thing to do was just duck. And their step width would always put them over you.
Yeah. And they will jump a lot of times at the end as well.
Yeah.
For this guy, it is not too big of a deal because you can just kind of, again, DPS race him very easily. Later guys end up doing a lot more damage.
Yeah.
And you'll have to fight multiple bosses in a row, so you're maintaining, kind of being more conservative.
Yes.
So here it's very easy. After you take him down, you go down the pyramid.
Yeah. Another nightmare when you're in free mode because enemies are coming at you from the diagonal. Mm-hmm. So you have to be moving toward them in order to do any kind of damage. So I would just wait for them to do a jump over me and try and hit them when they were above me as they were sliding down after me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, much easier in fixed mode, this part, but it does, it ebbs and flows. Mm. And the tricky thing here is like there is a guy who kind of floats up and will always shoot a bullet. Mm-hmm. And since you're on this weird angle and you're always moving, it is tricky to jump over the bullet in this.
Right.
So that was like really the only danger in free mode.
Yeah.
So, once you get down to the bottom, you're deeper in the forest. And there are these weird, this is another area I ran through. Yeah. There are these grabber arm things you cannot kill. Mm-hmm. That kind of extend. They look impressive, but they are kind of constantly harrying you while you're fighting dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And partway through this, you get your final boss here for this level, the Pinky Rotor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, which is a big mech. A lot of these bosses that are kind of big robot things remind me of Sonic bosses.
Oh, yeah. You got Robotnik popping in. Like, so the fat dude who pilots this, it feels like a Robotnik call out to me because of the glasses and what have you.
Yeah. So this has an extending, or she has an extending arm that she uses.
Yeah, she rides on the end of it, like raining bullets down on you.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And you have to continue to kind of keep your DPS out. And this is where you can switch to homing and concentrate on dodging. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be aiming at the enemy. You just shoot some homing bullets, dodge, or do both at the same time, depending on your mode. But just really concentrate on getting out of the way of these weapons. But this is the first thing I think is genuinely a little tricky. Mm-hmm. Like she does not do enough damage to really be a problem. Yeah. But I got hit a lot. Yeah. If there's another stretch of level after this, it might be a problem.
Yeah, it'd be a lot. The thing that makes this a little bit easier than it otherwise would be is that the body of the robot kind of always stays over to the right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not coming after you to do direct damage. It's almost entirely the bullets and bombs.
Yes.
Here's a question, because I didn't really spend an awful lot of time in fixed fire mode. With the homing, are you able to keep the bullets out and spinning on your target while also moving, or do you have to be standing still while you're holding the button to keep doing damage?
You have to stand still while you're doing it.
Yeah.
So, but if you do it with flamethrower, they melt so quick.
Oh yeah.
Like for the second and third level, it just happens like it's like a really fast countdown.
Yeah.
Basically, like Mm-hmm. So the flamethrower holding the weapon out and making it controlling it, which is not homing.
Mm-hmm.
That's remote control. This is Nikita missile. But Nikita missiling a flame spout at enemies is how I did almost the whole game.
Yeah.
Basically stopping to reposition from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, with free gunning, like you just hold down the button while the homing missiles like do hover around the enemy doing damage to them as you're dodging. It feels very exploitative, actually.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it without it.
Yeah.
Really, like with the later bosses, like it's probably a weakness, of the game in a sense. Like it's not a huge deal, but it did feel like a cheese.
Yeah, I didn't do an awful lot of interrogating the the community for playthroughs of this. I imagine that like no chaser runs are probably the standard. It's probably looked down on if you use the chaser.
Yeah.
If I know communities.
Yeah. If I know gamers.
Yeah.
And I do. They probably have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So after you beat that, the next level we're going to go through is the underground mine, which is a mine cart level, which also has rad gravity moves.
Yep.
But,
you're given a special minecart to go in here because you found out green has a stone down here, and you can jump from the ceiling to the floor. And very impressively, the camera will rotate to where it appears that you are going vertically. So you would be jumping from the left wall to the right wall.
It also has this like great kind of Mario Galaxy-esque physics to it. There's a little bit of a hang.
Yeah.
To the air, like you have to jump to a certain length before you'll make the jump.
Yeah.
From floor to ceiling, it just got a really nice physics to it.
Yeah, one of the phases of the boss, one of the potential phases you can get, like make explicit use of that.
Yes.
When you're trying to avoid the walls,
the crab attacks.
Yeah. But there's just a very brief like enemy section here where you're going after a train. And seeing just goofy animations of dudes on the train. I think
like they're sleeping.
Bison, yep.
At one point.
Yeah, I think M. Bison's on here and he's trying to whip people into shape. But that is exceedingly short. This entire level, it's like a boss rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very glad they didn't make that Hitler like driving the train.
Yeah, that'd be dumb.
There's like there's train connotations there that would not be great.
Yeah.
So when you green, like as you get through this, green approaches on this platform, and the level becomes this boss fight against like the most famous boss in the series and probably the most famous boss the Treasure's ever done. And real early for time for the podcast to peak, insofar as like tricks, Seven Force,
right?
Which is a randomly ordered. This boss has 7 forms, and you fight 5 of them.
Right, at least on normal. I don't know about hard.
You fight more of them on hard. There's a way to fight all 7 of them.
Gotcha.
But I did not.
Right. This is really tough, so I ended up, doing a save state after I defeated one of these forms because, man, it's rough to not make mistakes. Yeah.
So I ended up getting 5 of these. I did not know their official names. So I just have like descriptions of what I ended up fighting. I think I got the Soldier Force first. The running fella. Yeah. Who is not too big a deal.
No.
The second thing I got, I think, is the Eagle Force.
Yeah, so Eagle Force is a real pain.
Eagle Force is hard. I called it a starfish thing, but that's not correct.
Yeah, it doesn't really attack. It like its wingspan when it is fully horizontal extends the full width of the shaft. And it's kind of like always like ratcheting into different positions. And in order to successfully get around it, you have to be on the correct side, but also like get in to the right spot so that it will move past you while also doing damage. Yep.
It's mostly avoiding it. It doesn't. It's not explicitly aggressive other than its movements.
Right.
But that is hard as you're going through this vertical shaft. We also have Tiger Force, which I thought was a dog, but it is a tiger.
Right.
Which is a quadruped. It roves left and right on the screen and shoots energy beams from its tail.
Yeah.
Comparatively fairly easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I liked the Crab Force. This is kind of the the advancing wall that again extends the entire height of the arena. And its primary attack is to fire these walls that you have to avoid by doing your gravity switch around them while continuing to pump rounds into them. Yeah. Like
Battletoads speeder bike almost.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
To dodge back and forth. Yeah, this was my finale boss. The final, that one's great. My favorite one, which I didn't run into until later, is when you refight this guy's blaster force. It's just a big gun.
It's so easy
at you. Yeah, it's super easy, but it's just awesome.
Yeah,
like it's very clever, I think.
Yeah, I like him as a breather. I also really enjoy the Urchin Force. For some reason, that clicked for me more than Eagle Force, the other one of the other vertical guys, primarily because his movement was just a little bit more predictable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the only one we haven't talked about is Tails Force, which I seemed to be the easiest of the vertical ones. It's just a creature that's mostly tail and it spins.
Yeah, I didn't get Tails Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is really, really clever. Super cool to have this this boss that takes all these different forms.
Yeah.
Like famous, well thought of for a good reason.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
And it's this entire level. So I would recommend doing this one last, honestly, out of the available ones.
Yeah, it is it's the kind of the climax.
Yeah.
Of that stuff. So the next episode or next level is the flying battleship.
Next time after
Yeah,
45 minutes. Yeah.
If you this is the premium episode.
No, it's not. No, let's not joke about that.
Not. Yeah, just joking. Yeah. The next one is the flying battleship.
Yes. Really brief level, actually.
Yeah. Very brief, very vertical. As you, it's again Contra, right? Like you're climbing platforms as the ground is rushing towards, rushing upwards slowly, and you are rushing slowly. But you're just climbing platforms here. This is an interesting thing with the controls where like you don't want to mantle.
No, because it'll get you trapped for more frames than you want.
Yeah, it just takes too much time. So I would accidentally mantle here, which was a bummer. So you have to kind of try to like make sure you're jumping and letting go of the jump button after enough time to where you fully clear the platform.
Yes. Yeah. After the vertical section, you get, up to a platform that you're going to run across, and you got a couple of bosses, or at least one here, swapping reg. I don't know what that means. I don't know why swapping reg.
Reg.
Yeah, red. Hey, reg.
Yeah, it's swapping reg.
Yeah. It's a big jumping bracket.
I remember the Sugar Hill gang. To me, that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
But it's a big platform with little pogo legs, and you got to get underneath it. Incredibly easy, but I just love that it's 3 dipshits piloting it.
Yeah, I like the dipshits.
Yeah.
We actually had some foreshadowing on the way here as well, where we saw a Beef Boy.
Oh yeah,
Orange. He sticks his head out of a window because that's going to be our end boss there. On our way out after this, but we had a preview of Beef Boy. Yeah, so you end up on this flying vessel after you get past this for a boss fight against the M Bison look like. So an early skirmish against the M boss.
Yeah,
fairly easy. He's basically the Rocketeer.
Yeah.
He flies around on rocket boots. You have to shoot him down. He will, he's not super aggressive. Like there's many times where he was just kind of doing languid loops over my head. So.
Yeah,
good for him.
I can see him being easier on fixed, especially because of the kind of limited area that you have to fight on because you're on this plane. Real impressive the way that the plane kind of rotates left and right. Again, leaning into the cool Genesis strengths. Yeah. But you shoot him down and he crashes into a bunch of dudes, which leaves an opening for Orange to hop on. He's the Beef Boy that we found. He was like a Chuck Liddell kind of dude.
Yeah, he's like everyone in Resident Evil 6.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's a big, strong guy, and you're on a plane here. And the way that I took this guy out was hanging on the under him.
Yes.
On the wings to avoid attacks and shooting up at him until he would notice me, and then jumping and relocating.
Yeah. He only has one attack that I noticed that would get you when you were hanging down below. But that was the way to go.
I got to jump up during that.
Yeah, no, but I would just take shots at him from the far edge, and then drop to the bottom when he came over, and then mantle over and climb up on the other side. Kind of neat that you have a maneuver that he cannot do when he is just doing big stronger wrestleman tricks on you.
After you kill him, he falls off the plane and lands makes a cartoon hole.
Yep.
In the ground. Which is cute. Again, super expressive animation.
Yeah.
Moving on to the highlight level. kind of portion of things here. The Strange Fortress.
Yeah. So the professor's little briefings have not, they've just been informative. This one is presented as if it's informative, but it's hilarious. Black has built a silly dice maze. Go. Silly dice maze. And eventually it becomes clear. It becomes clear. But out of context. No, I don't know.
I don't know. Silly dice maze, go.
Yeah.
There's all eating. Like, so it opens up there. It's just pretty, bland. You kind of go through and you deal with some flying tanks. Again, thousands of dudes.
Yeah.
Right. But then you get into the Dice Palace, and this is very famous. This is also referenced in Cuphead directly here, where the background is taken over by a board game. A dice falls down, it rolls 1, 2, or 3, and you move and you play a board game, moving through the thing. I think this is like an amazing idea that is fairly frustrating in execution.
Yes.
Like, partly because the bosses are like half pretty interesting and half kind of dumb.
Yes.
And you can get to the end and just have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, no, I really abuse save states because it seemed like it was weighted. It was weighted to send me back to the beginning. Weirdly enough, like the first.
They want to show off all these bosses.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to refight anybody. So once you've cleared a space, you've cleared it. But it's just like, man, I don't know. That's a big feel bad. And this is such an endurance match.
Yes.
Like, unless you land on one of those item spaces, you're not getting any health back.
Right.
And even that's a random roll. So like the health spaces, there's these spaces on the board that are like get item. You get item, you have a choice between a couple different weapons and then 1 or 2 health pickups. And those health pickups at this point in the game with the damage enemies are doing are only good for 1 hit. So if you only pick up one of those, and it's like, well, I just had to fight all the bosses over again. It's doable. It just feels bad.
Yeah. I don't like having to like you're not seeing the same content over again. Like you're not technically like redoing anything, but yeah, it feels bad. It feels like a punishment.
Make it like a board game.
Yeah.
There's Shoots and Ladders does that. Go back to the beginning shit, and it's a bad game for babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the encounters. At least the ones that I made notes of. There may be others.
Yes. The in my notes, which again is a stream of conscious thing, I kept an email. These are all just sentences that don't make a lot of sense. But I do have "sent back. Are you fucking kidding me?" in the notes. So
Yay.
yeah. So Timuron, who's this like floating dome that drops these time delay bombs and calls them back to itself, kind of controls those. Nothing super, super special.
Right. Takes off like after the timer goes off. It'll come back later. Don't worry.
Yeah. The way that the Timeron boss works that's interesting is you are meant to survive it for a time and you get points. Yeah. So for that, later you can defeat him whenever you want. You can hang around and just kind of dodge him to get points. Score doesn't do anything in this game since you have 1 life and unlimited continues.
Right.
It's just for funzos. Like people online have rolled over the score meter.
Oh, nice.
Fighting Timeron.
Nice.
Before, so.
I mean, it's not that hard to dodge him. So.
No, he's pretty easy.
Yeah. Weirdly, some of the bosses here are just named after snacks. So we have Melon Bread, who's another graphics demo. He's a pair of floating eyes, then a bunch of triangles that make up his mouth.
Not a snack.
Nope. Well,
melon bread isn't a thing.
Well, yes, it is.
Is it?
In Japan, yeah. It's melon flavored bread. It's like a cake.
The fuck is a melon?
You ever had lemon cake?
You're trying to Vector Man me?
No. Vector Man. No. Melon bread is a snack in Japan. What?
A melon pan.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Wow, gross. People know the melons are gross, right? Why are they doing this?
I don't know. It's a weird it's a weird country. That's not a value judgment. It's just alien to us.
Yeah, they do. Pan for the Portuguese.
Yeah.
Word for bread. Actually, that's pow. God damn it. It's not pan. This whole Wikipedia is a lie. This is the evidence that I'm in the Animatrix. I just discovered it by finding that Portuguese error in the fake snack food.
Yep. No, it's a canary. Throw it all out.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Whole life is a lie.
Yeah.
Anywho, Melon Bread is Joker's trick to me. Like he has a big smiling Joker face.
Yes.
Is what this seemed like.
I love the what has to be a Street Fighter reference when you just
the car.
Yeah, when you pop in on the grounded plane and it just says destroy.
That's great. That's really fun. Like the variety here is pretty fun.
Yeah,
that's super cool. I also really love the minion soldier.
You always shoot over him.
Yeah, he's this tiny little guy who runs back and forth.
Yeah,
who is really hard to get. And it's like we've seen the minions before. These guys lived in the first level.
Yes,
we've seen these tiny guys. So this is one that's been, I heard like Manchurian Candidate or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something happened to him. But it's a cool fight. It's very clever and funny. Yeah. Also, clever and funny is the guy you cannot use weapons on.
Yeah.
No gun space.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a big, again, kind of a big Vector Man, kind of silly looking,
like a clay golem kind of dude.
Yeah, a very clay fightery.
Yeah.
Who you just have to, do the slide attack back and forth. And this ended up being a DPS race for me.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating. I couldn't actually win on the run that I fought that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and then later I looked it up, there's a trick to manipulate his AI.
Yeah.
That makes it doable, which I did not know. So I ended up having to reload my save state and get a different die roll to not fight him.
Yeah, I couldn't find myself. I think I maybe had to do something similar. I couldn't damage him without also damaging myself.
Yeah.
So much that I, ended up on the wrong side.
The melee combat in this game is not super well developed, even though it's a welcome bonus.
Yes. The last one that I have a note for here is the Aberenbu gel.
Mm.
I did a quick Google search. Apparently Aberenbu is a rambunctious child. He's got like a little surprise face on him, and he shoots surprise face orbs at you. No idea, but this looks like it's on loan from the EVO search revelation kind of collection.
That's it. Yeah. There's a guy too. There's a Pong kind of boss. That's like a paddle that shoots these like red balls back and forth and bounces them back and forth, which is really cool. I got that one as well.
Yeah.
That is in my notes, but the rest of the stuff I believe I got.
Yeah.
I got this big jelly blob as well.
Between these, you have like little challenges, like almost like puzzle or navigation kind of deals. Where you're attacking
them, they're different spaces, so there's spaces you can get. They're just marked fight.
Yeah. But just either timed to get around a little maze, or you're trying to shoot different colored gates to get through. Good variety. Like this is a really good stage. It's a really ingenious idea, I think.
Mm-hmm. Those navigation ones remind me of Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
a lot. The interstitial Smash Brothers things. Really, really cool. I wish there wasn't a chance to redo it.
Yeah,
I think that's dumb. But other than that, I think this is pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And the same thing, the redoing it thing, that's in Cuphead. That was one of the things where I was watching someone play it and realized, that's not for me. I know I don't want to do that.
No.
So, you get to the final boss, the Black Beat Stepper, who is a hot stepper.
Because the night, the Black Beat Step. Yeah.
So a big round, again, on the loan from the Sonic collection, big round mech with flexible legs. And he throws dice at you, which is great, which determines the attacks that he does.
Does homing flames, fast shots kind of things. I was a little bit bummed out. I killed him too quickly to see a lot of these. So it feels like it's very stage forward on this one. The boss is a little bit of an afterthought.
Mm-hmm. He's also a platform. So he was pretty hard to me until I realized I could walk on top of him. Right. So you can get on top of this guy.
Yep. I primarily dodged underneath them. I realized I could get on top of them late.
Mm-hmm. The next level is the Empire Space Base.
Yeah, this is where it stops being nonlinear. We're in kind of the end game.
Yep. So this first level, the beginning of this, so we see the Emperor, who looks a little bit like the Shredder from Ninja Turtles, has come to the base. He's taken yellow from us, and we need to go rescue the damsel and bring him the stones.
Right.
This stage is very annoying, the beginning of it, because it's a really long run and gun section that I just wanted to run through, but almost all of these crates have health.
Right.
And getting a huge reserve of health is extremely handy for this next set of bosses.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing it and then redoing it because I wanted that health. And that was frustrating a little bit.
Yeah. And you also have gigantic walls of crates that you have to destroy all of them to get around them too. Yeah.
Yeah. The crates have a lot of HP.
Yeah.
It's real weird.
Takes a bit. And also if you die to any of these bosses coming up or to the main boss coming up, you have to do all this over again. So
Yep. Not my favorite.
Yeah. No real wrinkles other than big enemy mechs coming, either flying tanks or some walker kind of dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to the first boss we're going to fight here, Final Great Soldier.
He's just a regular dude, standing wobbly in the middle of the screen.
Yep. Super good.
Yeah.
And then the M. Bison shows up and throws him away.
Yes.
Super funny.
M. Bison's name is Smash Daisaku for anybody who is upset that we are calling him M. Bison. He looks exactly like M. Bison, drawn in a manga style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same outfit.
Yeah. And this is a hard fight. Oh my God.
Yeah. This is it gets serious. This is why I had to go back and get those health pickups. Was for this fight. So he again he builds on his previous thing. He has the rocket boot, so he can do those dashes. He throws bombs from the air. And when he's on the ground, he does these jump kicks. And shoots them forward direction.
It's not like a beat 'em up, jump up and then diagonal smash down. Like his legs extend at you.
It's like Dalsim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like again like tons of Street Fighter stuff going on here.
Cool.
He stands up and does those extended leg things.
Fine, steel.
Yeah. Yep. Really pretty tricky, as you mentioned. And the I needed all those health reserves to get through him. Once you beat him, he retreats to the Empire, and then Yellow all there, and threatens to shoot Yellow in the head.
Pretty grim.
So you had to hand over the stones. The Emperor jumps up onto the ship in the background, and then the little guys, carry M. Bison and Smash Daisaku away.
Yeah. Bye, buddy.
Yeah, little guys got you. They're gonna devour him.
Of course, they're gonna tie him down, like like little Putians, like little Putin machines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're gonna Vector Man him. So
I just love the idea of Vector Man as an all-purpose negative verb.
Like Smurf. It's being like
you've only used it in negative context. Yeah.
Like, hey, you really you could do it positively. Like, hey man, you really Vector Man that presentation. Good job.
Yeah.
A Vector Man would do a PowerPoint.
You got balls. I'm absolutely certain that there was a Vector Man.
It's like an ad.
Yeah, like an ad saying Vector Man's got balls.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Vector Man.
No, yeah. If there's one thing that defines Vector Man,
it's his fertility, his legendary fertility.
Virile.
Virile Vector Man. How many kids you got, Vector Man? None that I know of.
Whoa! That's the coolest thing you could possibly say at that.
Yeah, he might be a shitty dad. Let's give him high fives.
Whoa! Yeah, it's not sad. It's funny.
Motorcycle for him. Yeah, it's not sad. It's funny. Let's go get Vector Man a beer. Come on, bros. Yeah.
So the professor has built us a small spaceship. We're going to the level outer space.
Which means we have a shmup level, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
To do that in the middle of this genre, it's pretty cool. It is a side-scrolling shooter. It's very easy, especially since this developer has done very hard shooters. And you have a little dodge roll. You do these little short-range warps.
Love that.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And then we fight Timeron again.
Yeah, he's back.
Yep.
It's really just how long can you last? Like it's a joke battle, really. If you're not going for score. Yeah.
Yep. It's a way to get points if you want.
Right.
You pass through an asteroids field, and then enemies will come from behind you. During this,
they do really cool stuff with scale on this too. They've got like regular dudes who are in spacesuits coming at you, but because you're in a spaceship, they're tiny.
Yeah. They are now the little guys, the little miniature commanders or whatever.
Yeah.
We're into another boss here, the 1,000 millimeter gun.
The 1 meter gun.
Yep. Yep. It's 1 meter. It's this rotating cannon on the side of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Not too big a deal. I don't have any notes about this. I don't think this was particularly difficult.
Does the so when you're here's a question: if you're in fixed firing mode, does that impact the shoot 'em up stage as well?
I don't think so.
No,
like I don't. Yeah, I don't. I feel like I would have noticed.
You could fire while moving.
Yeah. This felt like shoot 'em up to me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Basically, like when I was playing it. So that could be weird Oprah memorying. Like I actually played this a while ago for the show, and I could be Oprah memorying myself from other plays of it.
Yeah.
This is not the first time I played it, but so don't quote me on that. But I believe that it just controls normally in this level.
Yeah, that'd be real strange. I feel like that would mix and play well with the dodge roll. Actually,
it's like a Ludum Dare experiment.
Yeah.
Like a shoot 'em up where you can't move while firing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to the front of the ship, and guess who's back? We've got our 7 Force.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I like.
This rules.
Yeah. It's super cool. It's a good reuse because now you have changed, even if the boss hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, the boss has changed, so he's smaller relative to you, and forms that didn't have projectiles before now have them, and it will like shift between them and have different movement and firing patterns. This is neat.
Yeah, you don't just go through them in order,
right?
Like it warps into. Yeah, this is super neat.
Mm-hmm. Again, really empowering, especially after all the trouble that I have with 7 Force.
Yeah, it's cool to be here. I think this level is too long.
Yeah,
and I think the next level is too long as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the game takes like an hour and 20 minutes to play, right? Like that's part of that just overwhelming pacing to it. It feels like that, but individual elements of it are good.
Yes,
even though. So after you do that, after you take that out, you get inside their spaceship, and there's a short hallway that you have to do before you get to the engine core. And then you fight the boss here, the boss of the level, the core guard system.
Yeah, this was tough.
Yeah.
And I think that the primary problem with this is that the thing that you can damage is only temporarily on the screen.
Yeah. That's actually one of those boss fight tropes that, like when we did the Wolfenstein episode.
Yeah.
Things I want to have go away and just long periods of boss invincibility.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's time to retire that. That's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Demoralizing, find a different way around that.
Yeah.
Is also he has arms that are Vector Man arms.
Yeah.
So my note here is Genesis loved Vector Man. So I know we're running that joke into the ground on this episode, but it is just you did
shows up a lot. You made the observation even while you were playing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very Vector Man.
It's a really cool visual trick, especially in the first phase, because you've got this core in the background and you're kind of at the outer edge of the circular room. And the outside rim is spinning. And at the start, it's like a big arm that emanates like outward into you, outward into the screen. So it is making use of a really good pseudo 3D effect. Then it goes through like these different phases as they're coming at you, eventually forming into a ball man.
Yes. Yeah.
Very long boss fight.
Yeah. Again, kind of, how long do I want to be fighting a boss fight?
Yeah.
Maybe not this long. So this moves on to our final level, the Empire spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And this is cool. This whole level takes place on a view screen.
Yeah.
Where the Emperor and his lieutenants are watching you make progress through this level and then getting mad and storming off to go fight you.
I love all the character in these little dudes.
Yeah, that owns. Like that is just like a really cool trick. I have not seen that done elsewhere.
Battletoads a little bit.
Battletoads has the one boss that looks at you.
Yeah.
Like watching you go through the level as like the boss eye view. Like there's the Shredder fight as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's from Shredder's point of view that happens. It's kind of a tribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just like watching you it's like the security cam.
Yeah.
It's not the boss fight. Like this is not just their viewpoint. It's like they're watching you infiltrate.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. It's great. And again, just shows all of the love and character that goes into this. So the first people who come at you, it's not Black, because Black I think comes later. It's like the Robotnik guy and somebody else. They appear as the Duck Battalion in this gun mech.
Mecha idiots is what I call them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. This is the not quite the last, but one of the last Dr. Robotnik style fights.
Yes.
We'll do in this. And this also feels like a Robotnik-y kind of boss to me.
Yeah. So he's got these 2 chain guns, but really, like, he's the most deadly when he's charging at you. Like, he's doing direct damage by running into you. This is a boss where you really want to duck under him because he's so big, you can't really get over him reliably.
Yeah. Yep. After you take that out, there's a section where you have to avoid Searchlight. These Searchlight energy balls that fly out. Then they deploy Pink Lobster. Pink appears and has a crab mech with Mega Claw, Business Claw.
Yeah.
And shoots bubbles at you. This is kind of, to me, this was a little bit of a reprise.
Yes.
Like, this was not super hard. I am sick of fighting mechs at this point. Like, it is very Dr. Robotnik-y
a little bit.
boss fights. You know?
It's just ridiculous that so it's called Pink Lobster, but it's very much a crab. It's got Business Claw. It shoots the bubbles.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what? This is just a tangent.
Okay.
Is that, Jordan Peterson has that lobster thing. Like, he loves lobsters.
Yes.
Part of his whole thing. I see a bunch of clothes now. I've seen a lot of clothes with just pictures of lobsters on them.
Yeah.
And I have to stop myself because the idea of a shirt with just a bunch of the animal on it.
Right.
Like, I'm kind of into that. Like, I love shirts with animals on them. I love the idea of just, like, promoting scorpion awareness or, like, lobster awareness.
Yeah.
You know? Like, because there's an animal on it. But then I'm like, it's code.
Yeah. Somebody's going to
Can't
say,
wear that shirt.
Right on, 12 rules, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, man, is your room clean? Get off me.
Yeah.
You know, get off me. You know, I don't want that. But it's like, I hate, we talked about good things being ruined.
Yeah.
You know, like frogs and.
But yeah, no,
like
they've ruined 2 very good animals, frogs and,
And lobsters.
Yeah. Wolves a little bit too with the alpha beta stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave animals alone.
Yeah.
You know,
it's ridiculous that we spent the entire episode talking about this.
I can't believe that we spent the entire episode talking about this. Yeah. After you beat Pink Lobster, we move on to Orange.
Yeah. Orange, she has no pretensions.
Yes. This is Beef Boy.
Yep.
If you recall. And this is, it's a little trickier because instead of fighting on a plane where you can get below them, you have 2 different levels. You can move up and down between, and he can kind of attack both. You're not getting it's also worth noting you're not getting your health refilled.
No, this is a huge boss rush.
This is an endurance challenge. So this ordinarily would not be that hard, but you are conserving for later still.
Right.
So
yeah, every hit you take now, you're going to be paying for later on. Yeah. So Orange, he's got not just his wrestle moves, but he's got energy attacks as well. Some of which will extend above.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Once you take him out, we fight Black, Black Fly. He appears in a flying mech. And the fight takes place in an elevator, like just kind of the beat 'em up running gun cliche we haven't done yet.
Yep. And this is cool because, he's not vulnerable, but that's not really what this is about. It's a platforming, like, maneuvering challenge. He's like laying out patterns of energy that you have to dodge through. And when he reveals himself, he's pretty weak, goes down quick, but yeah.
The boss that I do not like is, and I don't have their colors again, I just have these sentences. This is the green, the next one. This is the one that's kind of like a Goku, and he's just a guy. Yeah,
no, he's the Goku who works for the enemy, but ends up, he's honorable.
What is it? The guy from Mega Man, basically the
Proto Man.
Proto Man, kind of thing. This sucks.
Yes.
He has so much fucking health. So this is something I ended up having to do again because I lost too much health on the way.
Oh, geez.
To this, and that feels bad. Like, I am using save states at this point, but that's just like, I don't want to restart this thing, man. And this guy was really hard.
It's very, very long.
Yeah, it's very long. You have way too much health.
Yeah. Yeah. So his primary thing, you're in this kind of like little area with a lot of platforms and stuff like that. His primary thing is he will move to a point and just kind of release this geyser of energy in a bunch of directions around from him. It's easy enough to get around, but he will hang from an area and then just throw out a bunch of stars. Yeah. Like throwing stars, which ends up being a little bit harder to avoid.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's none of his offense stuff is that bothersome to me. It's just the fact that you have to endure it for so long.
Right. He's also he's really nimble as well.
Yeah, it's hard to hit.
It doesn't pair well with his HP syncness.
Yes, and especially since I'm doing the homing fire on this, which I recognize like just a regular homing blast.
Right.
Probably would work better on this, where I didn't have to hold it on the enemy.
Yeah.
Myself. But just doing homing blast, so I could just concentrate on dodging. But doing the homing fire, him jumping around a lot and having to reposition that constantly,
right,
is a pain. Yeah.
Agreed.
After that, we get a little bit of health back. Where we get to the Emperor here. The stones turn on him, and he catches on fire, turns into his form. You run past him to chase the stones in the lab, and we get the final boss, which is the stones powering a thing. And this is like fighting Shaft in Symphony of the Night.
Right.
Like these stones are actually the boss.
Right.
Not the mech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is this gold and silver mech. It's a little bit of a letdown as far as the final boss fight goes, I gotta say. It's kind of lame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not very imaginative as a thing. The only gimmick really is that fighting the stones instead of him, like concentrating on that.
Yeah.
So dodging one thing while fighting another one.
Mm-hmm.
Or shooting putting your DPS on another thing.
Yeah.
He has a dash. He has these energy attacks. He'll do a thing where he hops into the background and lays out these like lines of fire that you have to avoid. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But after you eventually take him out, the stones fall to the ground and break apart, and he escapes.
Right. So you hop in your ship. We're in ending cutscene right now. The Emperor chases after it, and he repents. Oh God, we've awakened the Great Destructor, he says. And the mech, gold and silver, turns around and shoots him down. So bye-bye, Empire.
Yeah, good. Good. That's about all I need for this story.
Right.
For this. And then Green, who has that honor, again, sacrifices himself to destroy the robot and apologizes for his role in the uprising, which just, again, makes me roll my eyes very hard.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of the end, which is a little bit of, this final boss fight is not my favorite thing. This final boss rush, it ends up being a weird game, like that is good, like super good. Love it. The climax of the game did not take place in the last couple levels, like at all.
No.
Like the last couple levels are a little like running out the clock, like to me.
Yeah. I was playing this hoping that things would loom larger on a just a more recent play would outsize the Seven Force and the Dice Palace. Like those are so big. Those are the things that I remember about this game. They're the things that people talk about with this. I thought that something else would stick out above this. I think that really what does is just I'm reminded of how charming it is, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it is a very just, delightful, funny, silly game. And those details about the animations and stuff came through for me in a way that, I don't really remember noticing before as much or appreciating as much before.
Me either. Like this is an interesting game in like my personal, kind of my personal relationship to games as a gamer American, and that like it teaches me a lot of what the lengths that charms can go to.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, like I'm pretty skeptical of charm. Like something can be very bland, but it's like, oh, it's charming. It's like, well, or bad play.
Yeah.
It's, well, yeah, it's charming, but I don't care. Like charm doesn't get me very far. Charm does get me through an hour and a half action game.
Yeah.
Like charm has that power for me. Like charm is always applied to like 70-hour JRPGs.
Yeah.
As a thing. And it's like 70 hours is a long time for charm.
Yeah.
To move through. Or charm is Costume Quest, which is 5 hours, but is the blandest 5 hours you'll ever spend playing a video game.
Right.
Whereas charm for like a 90-minute Sega Genesis game with like really, we didn't really talk about it, but the music is super cool.
Yeah.
The graphics are you're constantly changing your what you're doing. Like for a game that I think is a little too high paced, it does constantly change modes and change like what you're doing. Like there's a very nice variety, even if things never slow down, which is what I think it might benefit a little bit from.
So yeah, it's weird that I latched onto the charm as being like the thing that stuck out to me. And that was just something new. Like, that charm exists on top of a very, very solid foundation, that gives me a lot of what I want, which is this really sprightly, high variety kind of play.
Yeah.
So it is augmentative as opposed to like being something that needs to shore up anything else in the shore up other shortcomings in the game generally.
Yeah. And even though in terms of speed, like the pace I think is a little one note. Like what's interesting is playing this while also playing Half-Life 2 for this month, and how much appreciation I have for a game that is constantly having you do new things if it does those things well.
Yeah.
Like it's like the mall food court of games.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like a wide variety of things. And like, it's a weird line to draw, but this has that in common with Half-Life. Even though it's condensed and super fast and older and like a different gameplay mode, it's still like, here's the boss that's about this. Now you're in a board game. Now you're beating up a car. You know, now you're doing an auto scroller where you're sliding. Now you're in a gravity level. Like, it does really have that variety. It's just kind of like slighter.
Yeah.
You know, and a little bit more one note, a little bit to its detriment, but still very good.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think if you're going to play, you know, just a couple Sega games, this should probably be one of them.
Yeah.
Like, by which I mean Genesis games.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely my favorite Treasure game.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. This is the version of Treasure when I talk about them glowingly. You know, like I've got a spot in my heart for Dynamite Heady. I think that is a really interesting and cool game. But like, yeah, you know, my esteem is reserved for the side scroller, run and gun Treasure as opposed to the shooter one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was looking at their kind of gameography before we recorded this, and nothing they've done recently has garnered very much attention. Like, I'd never heard anyone talk about.
Yeah.
Their more recent games.
Bleach, Dark Souls.
But I did notice Bleach, Dark Souls. Like, that's something, you know, that's me eating an M&M with a big turd in the middle. You know, like, I heard you like this. Do you like Dark Souls? Yeah. Well, do you like Bleach? Well, I mean, I do laundry like the rest.
No.
You know, no. You know, but yeah, it's just, you never hear anyone talk about that. So
yeah,
it's interesting to see that they definitely have had their heyday.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking about Bleach, Dark Souls.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just I don't know. Anyway, got the giggles. Thank you, Geri Khan.
Yeah.
For recommending this. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. It's a good game.
Yeah, great game. Real fun. Next week, we are doing Fire Emblem, The Sacred Stones.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that.
It's fun. Yeah. It's a really interesting game. There are systems in that game I think are straight up super bad. It is a really great, more than the sum of its parts thing for me.
Yeah.
In my experience. Like, I think the level up system in that game is asinine. I can't believe it got made and existed the way it did for like 10 games in a row.
Yeah.
But it's still really fun.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, like it's so weirdly luck dependent. Like, I don't know if you've had the experience of like, oh, this person who's on the bubble got 3 level ups in a row where they don't get DPS.
Yeah.
This fucking sucks. Like, it's so mind blowing. It's weird to me.
Yeah. I'm finding myself getting like into the story and the characters.
The story's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like pretty well written, like for its vintage. Like, I'm like, oh, this is like moving along at a good clip. This dialogue is not embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's that stuff is really good, and that's been my experience with Fire Emblem. You know, so that's really nice to see.
Yeah,
like the story is not great shakes, but it's not embarrassing. Like it does not feel like a little, you know, like a little kid's idea of, you know, what this should be about.
Right.
It's got a seriousness to it that I like.
Yep. And then after that, our last game of this month, our premium episode is going to be Half-Life 2.
God, Half-Life 2 is so fucking good.
Yeah, no, I've started that up too.
I'm at the end of Anti-Citizen 1, so I'm near the end.
Yeah.
I'm about to get the super gravity gun. That game is
when you get to the Citadel, like
yeah, masterful. Like, that game is masterful. It came out at a certain year where every level is about 15 to 20% too long.
Yes.
If you ignore that, it is so fucking good. It is just like, how did shooters forget how to do pacing? Because they fixed it, they solved it, and then they went away. Yeah, you know, because it's very good. I'm really excited about that. Yeah. Then we have our October games after that, which include the Call of Cthulhu, the 2018 game, the RE7 DLCs,
Silent Hill Shattered Memories,
and then Alan Wake.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to all of those things. It'll be a fun October. Absolutely.
We got cool stuff coming up in November. Yeah.
Thanks for coming to Duckfest.
Yeah, thank you.
If you came. If you didn't come, thanks in advance for coming next year.
Yeah. So we will assume that everything went good. If this is publishing posthumously, then you know things have gone wrong.
Avenge us.
Yeah.
Like if we died and you don't know how, find that out for us at the very least.
Please do. Or we'll haunt your asses.
Yeah, presumably our widows want to know, and that's presuming we get married that night.
Right.
So like events like Homer and Ned going to Vegas, that classic Simpsons, like season 16,
that they keep on making reference to about the floozies.
It's very weird.
It's just like a weird bit of continuity where it's a secret that they share, and then the floozies come back for another episode later on.
God, people don't care. The floozies are the vector men of Simpsons. They can't get enough of them floozies.
No.
But so assuming we get married and we die, please console our widows. Not like that, you perverts.
Yeah.
Console them by solving our murders.
Yes.
Question Jeremy Greer.
Let's start with him.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't care if he's bound to a hospital bed, missing an eye. Like, it's fine. Like, it just he had, the things either went wrong or was part of his plan to escape notice.
Yeah. Listen, Cyclops. It's time to so do all those things, please.
Yes.
And then ratings and reviews. And if you want to support the network and you want to hear that full Half-Life episode, as well as our most recent episode on Wolfenstein, The New Order, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah. And most of all, come back next week.
Yeah. Love to see you.
Yeah.
So until next time, what should they watch out for?
They should watch out for Silly Dice Palace. Go.
Gotta see it. Gotta do it.